My name is AJ Davis. I am the president and co-founder of the SoBear Activities Club, and this is...
I'm Natalie. I'm the vice president of the SoBear Activities Club, co-founder.
So Natalie and I, can you go to the next slide, please?
Yeah.
Natalie and I are both sub-free students. Now, what does this mean? We do not drink, use drugs, which, for a lot of people, they don't understand why that is. For many kids, and 20% of the around populace does not drink, does not use drugs. 80% does. So a lot of kids don't understand what does that mean. It could be because sub-free students are in recovery, religious reasons, past family trauma, or they just don't like to drink. But there are a lot of problems around campus revolving around how sub-free students are treated and understood. What's your experience with this, Natalie?
So personally, I adopted a substance-free lifestyle this past summer. So I had a year at Brown where I was using substances, and a year this year in which I'm not. So I've kind of seen that direct contrast between having a lively, active social life with substance use and the essentially non-existent one without substances. So really, I know how alienating it can be a sub-free student that exists on a college campus. There's a lot of stigma around being substance-free, and so, yeah, that's been my experience.
And right now we're going to get into the problems of being sub-free. The first is the stigma. Now, what is often, most sub-free students are thought of as being prude, uncool. They don't really want to have a good time. That's not really the case. A lot of sub-free kids have experienced trauma because of alcohol and drugs. They don't do it for whatever reason, but their peers around them don't seem to understand and or care why that is. So they're often alone, not invited to parties or to hang out with other people because they don't participate in the recreational activities 80% of our campus does. Now, the public perception of sub-free students is also that they might be drunks or alcoholics or drug addicts in recovery, and some of them are. Some of us are. And for those people, using substances means life or death. It's no joking matter, but they are so isolated on the college campus, they don't really have anywhere to go. And they are thought of as someone lesser than a normal college student. This applies to all sub-free students, and that's why they don't have very many friends, stay in a lot. And there's nothing that they can go to right now, a safe haven, a place where they know they can have fun without being triggered, or fear of smelling pot, or seeing kids do drugs, or having to take care of a drunk person. They don't want to have to deal with that. They already have. But institutionally, we don't have anything to support them besides a single dean and a single club and caps. Caps, you get 10 sessions. If they realize you're a little messed up, they give you to some other doctor away from campus. So let's move on to the next slide. As I was stating before, there's a lack of institutional support. I think you can go into that, Natalie?
Yeah, so like you said, we really just have one dean, Dean O'Neill, the Dean of Chemical Dependency, and she has started a lot of programs and change on campus, like the Donovan Substance Free House. But really, she's only one person, and she gets tons of substance-free students going to her to seek support and help because there's really no other programs at Brown.
She doesn't know where to send them except for one group called ESOP, which is Early Sobriety for Students at Brown. There are currently 5 members, and all of them are in recovery. But that does not cover the majority of sub-free students who are in recovery. They just don't like to drink, but they don't know where to go to have fun. Because a lot of college events that say they're sub-free aren't actually sub-free. There are kids bringing flasks to pregame. But sub-free students don't want to be around that triggering material. Can you go on the next slide, please? The other problem is the social culture. Brown is a college which is known for 2 things: learning and intellect, getting messed up on the weekends and having what is perceived to be a good time. There is social pressure to go to parties, to exist in this environment because that's the only way you'll think you'll actually make friends. And that's a normal thought. Isn't that not what you experienced in your first semester now?
Yeah, most definitely. Last year I did use substances, like I said, and I had this active social life where I went out on the weekends a lot, went to parties, used substances like most people on campus. And this year, trying to exist on campus has been really hard and really alienating for me. Not only because most of my friends on the weekends go out to parties and exist in this type of culture that I don't want to partake in, but just the lack of another social scene outside of this party culture has been definitely really alienating and hard.
It is actually fairly non-existent, and that's what this club wants to change. An example of this could be spring weekend, which is coming up next weekend. Most sub-free students don't have a place to go for that. They don't want to go to the concert because they don't want to see people getting messed up. What are they going to do? Just hide in their dorms or go home? Escape it? We want to provide that safe haven for these students, but our club is just being set up right now. As of this moment, they don't have a place to go. Next slide, please. Another part of the problem is that a lot of other colleges are ahead of the curve on us with this. In the 1970s, Dean Donovan was the first dean at a college in the country to establish a sub-free program. He was the first dean of chemical dependency, and he set up ESOP. Now in the 70s, that was huge. But now, at schools like SMU and Penn State, they already have clubs like the one we're trying to make. They have programs, they have rehab centers. Right now, we don't have much of anything. We are trying to change that and allow sub-free students to feel safe on campus. 20% of us, as I said before, do not drink and use drugs. How are they being supported? Next slide, please. What we're trying to provide is a safe space. Now, what does that mean? It's not actually a confined space, but every weekend, we want to give substance-free students, and students who aren't necessarily substance-free, who just don't want to party, activities to do, whether on campus or off campus, where they know that there will not be drugs or alcohol. We can go camping, play laser tag, sober tailgatings, go to see movies, sober dances, and the list goes on and on. We want to provide these students with something they haven't been to yet, and we want to make them feel supported.
And also, like AJ said, students who aren't necessarily substance-free but don't want to be using substances one night can come and integrate with the substance-free community, and in that way, we hope to destigmatize what it means to be substance-free.
Next slide, please. Now, some of our members will be in recovery. Now, most people know what an alcoholic is because they've seen movies or read about it, but there will be alcoholics among us. And as the slide says, 1 in 12 adults and adolescents is in recovery, which means that this is a life or death situation. And it is the hardest place to be on a college campus and not relapse, not go back to drinking and doing drugs. I've had many friends our age or younger who are in recovery, and when they got to college, died of overdoses because they couldn't handle the campus environment. We don't want that to happen. We want our students to feel safe, and right now they don't.
I don't go to parties, that's for one. I don't use alcohol or substances, and I like it, but I also feel like there needs to be some sort of support system.
The rhetoric on our campus, I think institutionally and social, has been that sub-free is just like a choice. It's not necessarily like about a value. It's just like a personal choice.
Being a sub-free student at Brown is a constant battle. You have to recognize that everyone you interact with more than likely is going to assume that you're totally alright with flagrant references to substances and endorsements of that kind of lifestyle. You're expected to not say anything about it if you want any friends at all. And that's particularly difficult. There's just an implicit oppression of silence. I'm not allowed to speak up.
I honestly don't even know what kind of services and support systems are offered here, and I think that in itself speaks volumes.
There are many things institutionally that might support sub-free activities or activities where substances are technically not allowed, but a lot of times though that's not actually the case. And so to provide a social space where they feel like they're their sub-free values are going to be like recognized and not necessarily stigmatized is important to a lot of people because that's their experience here.
That I just can't go out anymore, and I have nowhere to go for fun with a group of friends where I can feel safe without substances. There's definitely a need for some support, a need to assemble everybody who I know must be suffering through similar things, so that, you know, we can all have somewhere to go. We can have an equal opportunity for having a thriving social life without having to subject ourselves to what is very possibly triggering material.
So we actually just got approved as a student organization, and so currently we're a Category 1 club, which means we have no funding. And so really to provide these alternatives for substance-free students, we need funding. And so to realize this vision, we want to be able to, you know, provide food, drinks, transportation for kids to go to laser tag, let's say. So, and also we can't get money for at least a year being the Category 1 club, so we really do need something to get started.
So the impact that we want to have on the Brown campus is destigmatization of sub-free students and students in recovery, providing a safe space for sub-free students, and allowing the campus to have more of an awareness of a population of the students that isn't really being seen right now or understood. We want to make everyone safe. Thank you.